Are you ready for next level growth in your business? Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, where we pull back the curtain on the exact strategies, tools, and mindsets that build million-dollar empires. If you're hungry for more time, more freedom, and a whole lot more impact, you've come to the right place. Buckle up, because we're about to ignite your business journey. Now, here's Lindsay.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I'm your host, Lindsay Anderson, and today I'm so excited to interview my guest, Mr. Darryll Stinson. He is the co-founder of Seeding Greatness, a movement of leaders restoring the planet and helping humanity heal through their stories and transformational services. Darryll's going to talk to us about how to leverage your speaking opportunities, how to get more speaking opportunities, and all about the world of speaking. He is a former Division I athlete. He overcame multiple suicide attempts to become a multiple best-selling author and a 2-time TEDx speaker with more than 2 million views. He is accomplished. He is an expert, and I'm so excited to interview him on the show today. Welcome, Darryll. So glad you're here.
What up, what up, what up? Glad to be here.
Did I miss anything? You're an impressive guy.
Oh, man. I don't know how much to tell people. I think people can hear my voice and know if we're supposed to connect, have further conversations, whether that's professional, personal. You connect with who you resonate with. You know, your vibe attracts your tribe. So I don't feel the need to, go through a bunch of stuff, but there's tons of stuff that might be pertinent to people. So we'll get into the convo.
I do have this question around the former Division I athlete.
Yes.
What did you play? Tell me just briefly about that.
Played football primarily. I went to college to play both football and basketball. I was ranked top 100 my senior year in high school in both. I was 79th in basketball, and I don't know, it depends on what rankings you read, anywhere between 20 to 70-ish in football. But earned a full ride scholarship to play football and basketball at Central Michigan University. Only ended up playing football because that was much better early on than they thought I was going to be. Then they didn't want me to get hurt playing basketball and football, paid my scholarship. Central Michigan University, head coach Butch Jones, we won a MAC championship there and was ranked 23rd in the nation, 2009. Lots of great athletes to come out of that program. Number 1 draft pick, Eric Fisher, Antonio Brown, Dan Lefevre, some Super Bowl winners. So really one of a championship team, probably top 2-3 teams to come through system.
Wow, that is so cool. I love that. So you are a professional athlete, but let's fast forward. What would you say you're known for now?
Man, my vulnerability on stages and my ability to help other people to share vulnerably without trauma dumping, without, being emotional for emotional sake, in a way that results in growth in their business and transformation for the audience that they speak to and themselves. I can get into this a lot, but one of the things I talk about is, the 3 realms of speaking. Okay. Knowledge, doing, becoming, right? To know, to do, to become. So there's people who teach what they know. It's kind of like I consume information. I give you best practices of what I consume. There's people who teach what they do. That's realm number 2. I'll show you more of how I'm implementing this in my life. I might, teach you what I'm doing in my life. And then there's teaching who you are. This is your essence. And the best way I know how to explain the 3rd realm to people is that we understand in leadership development and mentorship that proximity is power, and that some things are caught and they're not taught. So speaking in the realm of who you are is giving people the power of mentorship without the proximity.
Okay, can you be a little bit more specific? So are you saying when you're doing speaking, the most powerful type of speaking is the becoming who you are? That's the kind of speaker you want to be, because you can make the same impact through your words as if you were sitting next to somebody.
Yes,
Okay.
because it has that depth of insight and wisdom and reflection. But in order to have that potency in the communication, you have to have that depth of reflection in the practice of your own becomingness. You have to have an awareness of what you're doing in practice and how you're responding in all areas, financially, psychologically, emotionally, socially, because that's what creates the potency that can only be caught in proximity of mentorship. That now, because of your reflection and connection and awareness of the process you've gone through, you're able to share that potency from stage with others.
Those are the most powerful talks. Those are
Yep.
the ones that are really gonna make the big impact, and that's what you teach people is
Yep.
this. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so you had a TEDx speech, 2 million views, is that right? What was that, and, like, what was the secret sauce there?
Oh man, the best marketing tool for a viral speech is a great speech.
Yeah, no, s
And well, it's interesting because the number of people who I get who are seasoned speakers or they have enough repetitions, they've done enough podcasts, maybe they were a teacher for 15 years. They're like, I'm good. I know how to speak. I know how to say. I just want the opportunity. And it's like, okay, problem number one. Think you're more ready than what you are.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a specific thing. It's like, yeah, you might be further along than maybe the average communicator, but TED is a specific talk. And regardless of your level of skill, it's still like signing up for a Boston Marathon. You can just get up there and just give the normal keynote that you give, but your results won't be exceptional in most cases. And so you got to take yourself through an actual process of creating your speech. So, man, again, it's a 6-month process we bring clients through. I can a couple of pointers in that to self initiate.
Let me
Yeah.
just clarify something really
Yep.
quick.
Go
So
for it.
you're talking about getting on the TED stage, and you're like, even if you are a speaker and you're on all the stages and doing all the speaking, TED itself, because it's like all nuanced. Like if you want a successful TEDx talk, like it's not what you're used to. There's some nuance here, and you're
Yeah,
going to share with us some tips around the nuance. Is that right?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But I don't give me the tips yet, Darryl.
Okay.
I want to know this first because I know
Okay.
that you're a seasoned speaker yourself. As because we're talking to business owners here, people who need more high quality leads.
Yeah.
Do I pick a regular stage or is TED the stage for more leads?
Both. Ted's like there's farming and hunting and business. Ted's like a farm. Okay. Like a long term, and I say long term play, but I got 2 million views in 2 years. So it really wasn't like 10 years. But it's not necessarily short term. It's like I'm on a stage, like I'm gonna be speaking on Monday to 500 people.
Right.
So I can generate profits and cash flow and leads and connections and referrals way faster from doing a talk like that than I would doing a TED Talk.
Okay.
But my TED Talk's been out for 4 years and it brings me gigs almost every month.
Right.
And it's an old version of myself. So can't even imagine if a new version of myself was actually on display. Right.
I don't even want to know how many times you have a new version of yourself, Darryl. You seem like you're always creating.
Yeah. Yeah. I could.
Okay. And then there is this idea that the TEDx, because there is a brand and there is some authority and notoriety there, that also helps. Or no?
It does. It really does. I don't teach that a lot because it's cheap to me. Because I know people who are like, oh, I just want to do a TED Talk. I'm going to put the logo on my website. I'm going to
Yeah.
put one sheet. I call myself a TEDx speaker, but their talk is trash.
Yeah.
I want you to be an expert before you hit the stage. And then we TEDify your idea. I don't want you to have the stage define and make you the expert.
I love that. I love
Yes.
that. And it would just be like a throwaway TED Talk at that point anyway, right?
Well, you can leverage it. It wouldn't be throwaway by any degree. You can leverage it. You can put it on your website, put it on your one sheet. You can call yourself a TEDx. It'll open up doors for you. But it's not going to have as much traction and it's going to lack a substance because you lack putting substance into it. It's like you microwaved it instead of crock pot.
Give us 3 tips, like 3 things going into a TED Talk. What do we need to know, Darryl?
Okay, going into the TED Talk, thing number 1. All right. Value ideas over speeches. And I'm doing air quotes.
Okay.
Speeches, quote unquote. Okay. Again, TEDx is about ideas worth spreading, not about speeches worth giving. We're not doing a traditional keynote where there's an intro, 3 points, and a conclusion. We're unpacking a central idea. So tip number 1 is before you apply, get your idea to a sentence or less. Simon Sinek, great. People buy why you do it, not what you do. One sentence.
Okay.
Brene Brown, vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. Okay. Darryll Stinson, rejection is projection or protection. It's in a single sentence and it's an idea that over the course of 18 minutes or less, you unpack it layers and layers and layers. If Everybody listening could get that one thing. I promise you it'll set you apart and put you easily in the top 10%. The other thing I do is I have my own TEDx stage that we host out of Metro Atlanta. We had over 1,000 applications this year. So I literally thumbed through application, me and all the team. I looked through it. I read every one to a degree. The ones that I could not tell what their idea was in a sentence or so, or like the first 10 seconds of the video. It's like, if it didn't seem clear, if you confuse, you lose. And they lost me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't know, next.
Yep.
That seems like a lot of work. Next. Seems like
Yeah, like, it's not here. Like, I'm not marketed to at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So get really good at communicating the idea, not the tips, not the pointers, the idea. I'm saying this.
This is important, guys.
It's very important. People hear this and it goes, they shake their head. They go, yeah, I get it. Then they send me an email with their idea and it's a speech outline.
Yeah, it's not a sentence.
It's not an idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like how to change your life. I'm like, okay, that's not an idea. So that's tip number one.
Okay.
Idea, one sentence or less. Tip number two is make that idea a new idea or a fresh take on an old idea. So sometimes people can get into an idea, but it sounds like something that everybody else is saying. Leadership is influence. So,
Gotta have a unique idea here. Otherwise, it's not an idea worth sharing.
there's this fun game that I have behind me. It's right behind me. You can see it on my camera. Disrupt this. This is fun game. You get you pull these cards and this is these objects, and then you can have these prompts of what you want to do with these pictures or objects that are on the card. One of the card is you can disrupt it. It's you can take a stove and a hanger and go, hey, you can make these things anything that you want them to be, disrupt it. And it's just, it's a game to inspire creativity and get your mind thinking in different ways. So I can say, okay, fine. I'm going to put that hanger on the stove. And that hanger is actually going to be iron and steel. And the stove's going to be mushy, lightweight so that it's a weapon. You can just disrupt it, make it something completely not what it is.
Right.
I would do that with your same old topic. I would go, okay, leadership is influence. How do I disrupt it? How do I turn it, twist it, say it in a different way that more than say it in a different way? How do I look at it from a different lens that can be globally helpful for people?
Okay. I like that. All right.
All right. So you could say on its basic sense, my talk was about resilience. You could say that. But I spun it and looked at it through the lens of rejection and being resilient through rejection, and then made my talk about overcoming with.
Yes. And protection also was in there.
And
I love
protection.
it. It's like one or the other.
But
you
again,
switch
I'm
all
talking
that
about
up, and I'm ready to listen. Yeah.
Exactly. So people got to kind of play that, and it's good to have a real analytical person be devil's advocate, and that would be tip number 3. So
Okay.
tip number 1, one sentence or less, singular idea. TEDx is about ideas worth spreading, not speeches worth giving. Do not send me your speech outline. Send me a central idea in one sentence or less that you can unpack. Number 2, communicate it as a new idea or a fresh take on an old idea. Number 3, get an analytical person that can tell you when you're breathtaking. That will tell you that you just said leadership is influence and then try to change it to leadership is aggregated influence.
Right.
You didn't actually change it. You're saying the same thing. You're not saying anything different. I've heard this 100 times before. You're not even saying it in a new way. And most people, especially high level people, sometimes people, they don't recognize the blind spot that people are so inspired by them that they're not.
Can you unpack that just a little bit more?
I call it the courtesy clap.
Okay.
A courtesy clap. So for years I was in the industry and I was speaking because I was former athlete, I was, always carried a good present. I would go, I would speak, I would do a bad job. And people would say, oh, thank you. Awesome. Oh, that was amazing. You did great. Some people even lied to me. They said, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear. But you know how I could tell that they
How?
were lying? I asked the question. I said, "Oh, really? What was it?"
And you know, thanks for the sick. Oh, yeah, they quoted the other guy.
What was really going on, if I was honest with myself, was that I didn't actually make an impact in their life, and they felt awkward, and they didn't know how to handle the cognitive dissonance between who they saw me to be and how I showed up when I spoke. And they didn't want to tell me that, hey, I'm actually weak. And because they didn't
Right.
want to say that to me, they told me that it was awesome.
So was
Courtesy
so
clap.
like was this like how long did I'm gonna use the
Oh,
word struggle,
two,
but
three
like
years.
recognize this that people are saying stuff to you that it's not
Lindsay,
landing.
you go to conferences? Do you go
Yeah,
to
of course I
conferences?
do, Darryl. Of course I do.
Okay. Can we have an honest conversation right now for a second?
Let's do it.
All right. The last conference you went to, I mean, ballpark, how many speakers were there?
The last a lot, like 20?
Okay, 20. Okay. Out of the 20 speakers, Lindsay, was there any of them that got up there, spoke for 30 minutes to an hour, dry,
Yeah.
over salesy,
Yeah.
telling stories, they were their own entertainment?
Yes.
And at the
Yeah.
end of their presentation, people said,
Yeah. Yeah. All of you.
courtesy clap.
Yeah, but you noticed this, it sounds like, and you're like, I don't want that. Like, I want people to real like, what like, explain that middle part for me where you're realizing you're getting the courtesy clap, but you wanna be showing up in a more authentic way.
Has anyone ever, like, if you were honest with yourself right now on the phone, has anyone ever told you you did a great job when you know you did a bad job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
We always feel it. It's just scary to actually face
Admit
it.
it. And now you have me admitting it on this show, Darryl. I don't know
I
about you.
know.
I don't know
We
about
don't
you.
wanna admit it because it's like, "Dang, ooh."
Yeah.
I know. Hey, I just watched one of my film, like, the full-length film from my gig I did, like, 2 weeks ago, and I was mad. I was so mad. I was like, "Oh my god, this is bad." And again, I'm my own worst critic, right? So,
Right.
but also, I'm also willing to be self-honest because that's how we grow. Because, everyone says this, Lindsay. This is kinda pull a heartstring a bit. Everyone says that it's all about the audience. It's all about who you're reaching. Hey, like, you wanna impact lives, like, grow your business. It's all about people. It's about helping people, serving others. We all say that. And to me, if we're really serious about helping other people and we're out here, we're speaking, we're on podcasts, and we're doing that as vocal leaders, we have to have a level of self-honesty to our craft to assess the true impact of our work.
Amen. I like the way you worded that. I agree.
We
I agree.
do. So what made you address that, face that? It was that yearning in my heart. I felt that there was people that I could reach that I wasn't reaching. I was unfulfilled by someone that told me that I did an amazing job, but they couldn't clearly articulate how they were going to apply what they heard into their life. That wasn't okay with me. I wanted to see their life change, not just them have an emotional experience.
You're like, I'm taking this as you mentioned, a vocal leader, this role seriously. My role is to help people improve their lives. And if they're not doing that, I'm not being as good as I can be.
Mm.
So I got to be honest with myself because that's the only person who can change. Tara, that's good
Very,
stuff right there.
yeah, it
I want to circle back on what you said earlier, which is my specialty is social media and showing up on social media as a business owner, not an influencer, and making sales on social media. And a
is.
lot of times people show up too vulnerably because of the stuff you said earlier in the interview, which is
Yeah.
they share too much emotions and they're trauma dumping because
Oh,
I think get the likes and they get all this kind
no.
of stuff. Can you speak to that?
Stop it. It's nasty, dirty. We all can sense it. We feel it. Stop it now.
How do you know if you're because Brene Brown, which you brought up, she talks about being vulnerable, and so, you hear it worded
Here-
as
Here's my
your
here's my
scars, not
experience.
your
My
your wounds, but what is it?
lack of people willing to be honest, like I just was with you and asked you the hard question. We are
Okay.
afraid to be in a relationship like that because if I start having conversation with Lindsay like that, guess what Lindsay's gonna do? Lindsay's gonna start having conversation with me like that. And that's really what people are afraid of, not of what they have to say to other people, but what people will hold them accountable to if they say what they really want to say to them. I just feel like it takes like everyone that I know that has gone overboard with the trauma sharing or from emotion's sake, they had to have a come to Jesus moment. Like it had to be, hey man, can I talk to you for a second? You just showing up and you'll kind of pimp out your story and you're not actually telling people how to get out of the pain. You're just kind of sharing and being in victim mode. Is that really how you want to show up? Or talk to me? And just be honest. It's like, again, you got to have people around you who love you enough to tell you when your breath stinks. And I'm
It's
telling
true.
you, like, sometimes, especially as a leader, you actually have to ask specific questions from people to get specific answers. So how I found out that people were giving me courtesy clap is I asked specific questions. And so
Ones
you
that
gotta ask.
you're willing to sit back and hear the answer. Like you
Dollar.
said, "Tell me one thing I said."
Yeah.
And they were
Well,
like,
tell me about it. What do you impact? Tell me about that. Oh, why did that resonate? Why was that significant to you? There was like no reflection on that. It was just like, oh, I don't know what else to say. I think people should stop clapping when people do a terrible job. I think they should not clap. But the speakers can stop walking away and settling for the applause of other people. Really? I'm
Good.
so serious because a lot of speaking. I do a lot of entrepreneurship, growing your business with speaking, but I also do a lot of mental health and advocacy as a suicide survivor. And so for me, like I'm not gonna walk away and everyone like that's amazing, and then somebody goes and commits suicide.
Right.
I'm gonna try to save anybody that I can if they have an opportunity to hear my voice, and so I have to be like, hey, really, like legit, do you feel good? What's your next step? Like, do you know why you committed to the step before and haven't actually done it? Like, okay, cool. Now you're on the path of transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So back on the vulnerability. So when I'm prepping my talk and you say, it has to be part of me, that's going to be the most powerful talk is when I'm showing up being. So how do I work in some of these historical stories about me without the speech becoming about me and me also being vulnerable? Like what's
Okay,
the
cool. Thank you.
I mean,
I love it. Interview me some more. I like this. We have the good combos. I love it. All speakers love being interviewed. We say it's easier to
you guys are
interview
so
than
good at it.
well, it's easier to be interviewed than it is to sometimes speak because you feel like you got to perform to a level, right?
Yes.
So hold on. What's the question?
It was thread the needle between I need to share personal stories about me. How does it not
Yes.
become about me? And I can still be vulnerable, but not like too vulnerable.
Okay, stop. So the story is about you. And listen, okay. Listen to this whole sentence. You ready? It's about you. It's for others. Here's the part I want everybody to hear. And it's for you.
Oh, no, I was surprised by that.
I know. And some people are so offended by the first part that they don't listen to the rest. They're like, it's not about me. I'm like, no, it is about you. It's your story. Stop acting like it's not about you. It's their
Mhm.
story. And stop resisting your story. Because here's what I would say to people. Does everyone have a story to tell? Yes. Does everybody's stories matter? Yes. That includes you. Your story matters. Because
Okay.
if it was about somebody else's story, you would want to hear about their story. Don't you care about other people's stories? Yes. Okay, so get out of the trap and all the mental and the false humility of like, not about me.
Right.
It is about you. It's for them though. So if I'm talking about when I was depressed and suicidal and thinking about ending my life, when I talk about me, I'm doing it for the sake of other people. And that requires two things. Number one, it requires me to make sure that I'm giving moments that is applicable to people.
Okay.
Okay. So as an example, when I tell people that I was cut off from my emotion, I did not know how to express, so I suppress. That's about me. Now
Hmm.
I got to make it for them and say, hey, everybody repeat after me. Say, whatever you don't express, you suppress, you suppress. Okay. Take 15 seconds, right? Areas where you want to say something, but you have chosen not to in work, in relationships, and business.
So
Okay.
it's being able to take your story and broadening the context so it applies to everybody in the audience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you're teaching in realm three, the next part of it is a byproduct. It is about you, for them, for you.
Okay. So maybe
A byproduct because now I say I can tell where people are limited in their life based upon where they're limited with their lips. And so you getting more free about what you're communicating and being more okay with communicating it and communicating it in a more empowering way where you're not a victim because you're taking it about you and making it for them. Now you're benefiting from it. You're benefiting. I'm not trapped by the limitation of it being inside of me anymore. I've expressed it. Now I've grown. The other thing is now you get to experience. We say, hey, your test will become your testimony. Your pain will become your power. Your mess will become your ministry. The way that that actually happens isn't by us trying to bypass it psychologically and say, you know what? Everything happens for me. You know what? Like everything happens for a reason. It's not pseudo spiritual. It's actually very practical. My pain becomes my power when I share my story with somebody else and their life changes because of a pain that I was in.
Wow.
How do I know what to share and how much to share? It depends on the audience. I share in direct proportion to the pain that the audience is in. So when I'm speaking to addiction recovery communities, I go more into the addiction vulnerability of my story. When I'm in corporate, I go into different vulnerability. I talk about the insecurities in working as a leader and the struggle to be my authentic self or to lead courageously. So how much to share and what to share depends on the pain that the audience is in. Because the purpose of you sharing your story is first for them, then for you.
You always got to watch the context there of the
Yeah.
audience. Okay. Darryll,
Okay.
I loved this conversation. I have one more question for you because we're almost out of time.
I'll be
And
sure.
you are extremely talented. You've been a lot of places. You do a lot of things. What's one thing you wish you would have known before you got started?
Wish I would have known how my subconscious belief affects my behavior. I wish I would have known that way earlier because I would have got out of my own way far sooner.
Okay. Can you just expound on that just briefly for those audience
Subconscious
members?
belief, okay? What's operating in the background of our mind, the operating system that runs our life, the traumas that we have that influence our behavior, they're so ingrained in our psychology and our behavioral patterns that we are often unaware of it.
Right. Autopilot.
Autopilot. Okay. So any level of cognitive behavioral therapy or conscious coaching will help you to start to see, hey, the fact that you have problem quoting sales isn't because you're bad at sales, it's because you were broke growing up and you feel like you're unworthy of what you're asking for. And so in order for you to actually get better at high ticket sales, it's not about you learning how to overcome objections and sales tactics. It's actually about you going back, loving that former version of yourself, giving that version of yourself what you wish you would have received, so that by doing stuff, you have enough self-confidence and worthiness to now you're open to that at a high ticket sale, as an example.
Well, Darryll, what a great interview. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let us know how to find you and anything else you want the audience to know.
Any platform, Stinson Speaks, man, I'm super approachable. You can also go to my website, darrylstinson.com, store it's in the show notes and all that type of stuff. But reach out to me, man. We host events usually every 4 to 6 weeks. Prices ranging. We even have free events. Just tap into the community, see who we know that we can help. My mentor told me that one of the things that he wished he would have done more is ask for help. I think people are suffering because they think that they have to do it alone and they don't. So reach out to us and we can support you.
I love it. Thanks, Darryll, for being a guest.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. A big thank you to Darryll for sharing all of his expertise and knowledge on today's podcast. We had such a great time during this interview. Don't forget to sign up for my upcoming workshop. If you want to know how to generate more high ticket sales with social media, all you need to do is head over to lindsayaa.com. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Cheers to you and your success.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share how you're leveling up your business. Want more? Connect with Lindsay Anderson and get the tools you need to crush your goals at lindsayaa.com. Until next time, keep pushing, keep growing, and turn those business dreams into reality.